The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everybody, welcome to another special edition live case study where I'm going to be interviewing a pupil of mine, someone that's been working with me for just over a year now. Actually, it might be a year anniversary coming up very quickly, maybe even less than a year. I will have to ask Roland for sure. It feels at least like a year. He lives in the UK. He lives in London. He's actually taking an early flight to get to my place over the weekend. I have an event called Success Reflex where he's going to be attending for the first time. And we met about a year ago, and he's been working very, very hard, very diligently at building his portfolio of U.S. properties. He was in a situation that he didn't like. I'll let him explain exactly where he was, what he was doing, what he wasn't doing, and the place he was in. I think many of us can relate to being in a situation we don't like and wanting out and wanting to do something different. And he just wanted an answer. He wanted a solution for the problem that he had. And I am very blessed to have been working with this gentleman over the last year, and he has quite a remarkable story to share. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, I do these webinar series. I started doing these webinar series last month. Next month we'll have another one. It's going to be the first Thursday. Historically, will be the first Thursday of every month, where I'll be interviewing a student or a series of students that have done remarkable things in a short period of time, that are following the processes that we've developed over the last 17 years on how to become financially independent through U.S. real estate. The ups and the downs, and the journey, the personal journey and the financial journey that they have taken. Of course, nothing is easy. I've said this 1,000 times. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. There are some struggles. There's a huge learning curve. Everyone has different challenges, different strengths, different weaknesses. Some of you are terrified talking on the phone. Some of you are terrified of numbers. Some of you are terrified of a lot of things. And depending on where your weaknesses are the things that obviously you have to work on in order to become fairly good in this business. And it is a business. It's like anything else. You have to work at it, work on it. If you don't, then you can get eaten alive. So we're going to share Roland's story from soup to nuts, cradle to grave, go over some deals, some funny things that have happened, some terrible things that have happened, and of course some wonderful things as well, where he was able to take a little bit of money and leverage that into a small fortune for him and his family. So I'm very excited to introduce you to Roland in just a second. He is in the UK. He's 5 hours ahead, and I'm going to be ringing him in just a second. So, of course, this is live, so nothing is pre-recorded. No, there's no gimmicks, no tricks here. It's very candid, very raw. We're not. We're only here to inspire you. There's absolutely no main hidden agenda here, other than just making sure that you understand what needs to be done in order to be successful in this business. You may ask any question that you like. There's really no taboo question here. We're going to wait till the end for the questions, so we can stay on track. I'm going to try to do this in about an hour or so, depending on how many questions you have at the end. I'll stay to the bitter end. If you have thousands of questions, no problem. But I think most of the questions will be answered as the evening progresses, or the morning, depending on where you are. So soon as Roland is ready, he's just taking care of a couple things, and he'll be hopefully ready to go quite soon. So welcome everyone. Nice to see some familiar faces here. Of course, if you don't know how the question box works and go to webinar, you can post questions. Cliff, always nice to see you. You're always the first one to say hello. Always nice to see you. Harry as well. I've been working with Harry for some time as well. He's hopefully going to be on the series soon. Aaron, nice to see you. Adi, nice to see you. Angie, hope you're doing well. And Nick, hope your property in Paris is going well for you. Bimar, CJ, Carrie out of Winnipeg, always good to see you. Christina, looking forward to seeing you very soon as well. Chong, Cliff, Cyril, Darcy is also here. Nice to see you, Darcy, from Winnipeg as well. Whole bunch of you from all over the place. Frank out of Toronto. We got Graham out of Australia. We got Howard out of Vancouver. Jeffrey, I'm going to see you this weekend. Looking forward to that, out of Toronto as well. Joe out of Australia. Got all sorts of people from all over the world. Malik as well. Mark, Michelle, nice to see you. Rob, Rohit, nice to see you as well. Yang, good to see you as well. All sorts of people. Susan out of Australia. A whole bunch of you are here. So always nice to see people from all over the world. Sammy, nice to see you as well. Sammy Lack, from all four corners of the planet. I'm in a very fortunate position to help many of you get to the next level, if you will, financially, show you how to find properties at great discounts, how to use other people's money if possible, or the existing financing that's there available creatively, and turn lemons into lemonade. So hopefully Roland is ready. I'm going to try to. Sajib, nice to see you as well. Always good to hear from you. Hopefully you're doing extremely well. Nisha, nice to see you as well. And take it from. Okay, let me see if Roland is available here. I'll give him a quick call. And hopefully he is available. There he is.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Must see your face. There we go. You look so serious.
Hello.
You look so serious.
Of course I'm German. That's how we look. Especially at this ungodly hour.
Yes, it is an ungodly hour for you. Thank you, by the way, very much for staying up. I know you have to catch an early flight tomorrow to Florida, and
Yep.
we'll be seeing. So I think everyone can see you now. I'm going to make this into a bigger screen, and then we'll take it from there. Hopefully, you guys can see okay. So Roland, hello, hello.
Hello.
All right. So Roland, you and I have met. When did we meet? When was that?
I think it was around October last year.
Okay, so it's been about a year, a little over a year now.
September or October, probably October. Yeah.
Yep. So tell us your background, where you're from. Are you in the real estate business before this? When you met me? First of all, how did you actually? Why real estate? Why were you thinking about real estate? What job were you in? What got you to us? Let's first start before you met me and the U.S. real estate. What was going on?
It's like 10 questions in 5 seconds. You're really, okay, let me see. So where to start? I think, I'm from Germany, first of all. I was originally from Germany, but, I lived in a few places, I guess. I've lived in London now for 2 years. The way I heard about your course is actually, in a way, it's kind of funny because it's a friend of mine who actually found your course. I think it was a Facebook ad or something like that. And he told me about it. And, I was at that point actually just exploring a lot of different things, to be honest, because I was looking to make some changes, in my life in terms of I was just looking for something new and for something different. And so I was quite curious. And my friend told me about this seminar, and we went together. I think it was I think the first one is just kind of a 2-hour session.
Yep.
And then I think it was a guy called Lance actually who did that one here in London. That was interesting. I wasn't really sure whether to proceed, but my friend was quite sure he wanted to proceed, and so he actually made me sign up for the next one. It's literally, and we shared the costs actually. So I thought, well, at least we share the costs. But so to answer your question, I was not in real estate before that. I did gamble, not gamble, but I did have a little bit in investment property, but nothing really professional. I mean, my background's more in, I guess it's more in, internet technology, I guess, or technology is more my background. So no, I didn't know anything about real estate, certainly not in the United States. I've never owned or bought anything in the United States. And so my friend dragged me into it, and then I went to the 3-day. I still remember on the 3-day, I think on the first day, I was actually quite busy, with my current job at that, so I was actually, to be honest, half the day, I don't think I ever told you, I was actually on the laptop. I wasn't even paying attention for the first half because I couldn't, because I was busy with something else.
What?
Yes, that's right. I was ducking out, yes. I wonder why he never beat me up about that. But, I can tell you now, it's a year later, it's too late. And then I felt a bit guilty. I thought I should pay some attention. And then let's see. So I think well, you were saying some things that made sense, which was good on the first day. And then on the second day, you said more things that made sense. And I think there were a couple of things that I liked about that 3-day. I think there was kind of a curve where I got more immersed into it. Like on the first day, I was a little bit tuned out. On the second day, I was, listening a bit more. And, and then on the third day, I was a bit more, I was getting more and more immersed in it. And I think what shifted me was, well, first of all, obviously, well, there's you, I thought you were a very sort of authentic character, and it just seemed like whatever questions the audience threw at you, you had an answer to, and that indicated to me that you must have done something in that space before, which was good. So that was one thing, and then also you seem to. You seem to just talk from the heart, at times when you talk your story. So I just kind of liked all of that. And then I think I remember on the second day I talked to my wife about it. And I said, I'm in this property course. I don't even know how I got into it from some guy overseas.
So wait a second. So your wife didn't even know you were going to this class until the second day?
I don't think so. I don't remember if I told her. Yeah, cool. It was yeah.
Now, I just want to remind you, Roland, this is not a me commercial at all. I don't want to talk about me as much as I want to really talk about your journey. So, yeah.
But it's how I got into it.
Right.
It's literally, and of course it's a me commercial. Me. No. No, so and anyway, so long story short, so on the third day, my point here is actually I actually brought my wife into it because I wasn't sure whether to commit or not. I thought this was very interesting, and for various reasons. I thought what was interesting about it is that, the premise of doing this remotely, because I was in London, and, so I just thought, well, as long as the numbers make sense, as long as I can actually find these properties and close the properties from London, that's pretty good, and it's like, I don't need to travel to the US to close them. But it was all kind of, so I actually got my wife into it on the third day. And to my surprise, she also, usually she's quite negative on these things, wives, but on this one, she also said, well, it seems like, so long story short, that's how I got into it. And then on the third day, I made the commitment to sign up. I think I asked you quite a few questions before
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure, German people don't do these things, we don't go to seminars and sign up to random people,
Yeah,
so
I get that. So yeah. Before we get into you making the leap to obviously get mentored, but which is not what this is all about anyway, because obviously you know the value of mentoring because you took that, and you actually still to this day, which I respect very much from you. You just came back from Malaysia. You took a course there. You're very involved in personal development. You've come a long way personally, as well as you've come a long way in a lot of ways. But tell me about your job as to where you were before you sort of started doing this more on a serious level. We're having some internet weirdness going on here. I'm going to see if
Yeah. Well, I had actually started a company which was in the online gaming space, and it wasn't going that well. I'd been on it for about 3 or 4 years at that point. I can't remember, like, probably around that time, and it wasn't working out. There was a number of things. First of all, I think there was obviously a misalignment between, I think, what I don't think there was a natural enjoy. I didn't really enjoy, I think, naturally what I was doing there, which is funny because you think if you start something and you have some control over it, you do work, but you also don't, in the sense that it's kind of quite interesting how that works sometimes. So you always think whenever it's your own business, but if you don't really like it, it's not necessarily, if the passion is missing, it can still not be very enjoyable, let's say. And so there were a number of things that well, as I said before, so I was actually looking around for what else is out there in the world at that point, because I already knew that there was something not quite right with what I was doing there. But we were basically developing games. That's what we were doing, and which sounds quite fun, but it's actually, depends. They have to work, So and I think with real estate, what I liked about it is also, as you talked about it, is you have a lot more. I think to some extent it's slightly less risky than what I was doing, and also it's a little easier to it's quite easy to understand. I mean, the problem is basically you're just saying you're buying distressed properties, and so it was also it's hard to explain everything, but it's just sort of all these components kind of made sense to me.
All right. So just to I'm trying to get down to you were looking for something. You sort of was it your company? You helped start a company. You were an employee of the company. Were your partners fun to play with, fun to deal with? Were you harmonious at work? Were you jumping out of bed, excited to get to work? My understanding of, because we've spoken a lot, and I don't know how candid you want to be or not, and I don't know how much you want to divulge or not divulge, but and if I'm wrong, maybe it's my misunderstanding. But what I understood was you had a series of partners which were not a lot of fun to deal with, and putting a lot of pressure on you to perform in certain ways. And if it didn't, it was quite terrible. I don't know if that was the actual case or if that's just my understanding of what it was. Could you remember? Do you remember that at that time? What you had to go through as far as stress goes, or the pressures on you at the time to perform to get things done.
Well, I try not to remember, to be honest, but it was not a fun period of my life, I'll tell you that much. I think, so for me, I think it was almost like started in the end of 2014. I had a number of setbacks in my life, and part of that was certainly the job that I was doing and the business I was doing and some of the people that I worked with. So yes, this is a company. I co-founded the company with some other partners, but we also had some investors on board, and so that's what I'm saying. It's kind of on the one hand, you kind of could say, we're in control, but on the other hand, we're also not. You're kind of still an employee at that point. I think the only time when you're not an employee, if you really have a majority stake in the company and you really have full control, and I think then you could say you're kind of a business owner, and you can also not always work in the business, but also on the business and things like that. But that was definitely not the case. I was working on this every day, and we were very, very immersed, and so in any case, so I mean, with me, I had a number of problems. It's not my only problem. I had problems there. I had problems with my marriage. I had problems with my health. You could say I kind of burned out, and it really made me face some. Well, I had questions. I was like, why am I burning out? Why is all this happening? What does it all mean? And I didn't have an answer to it. So that's kind of got me on my quest to, do some things, attend courses, for example, to right. Learn, to understand things,
Because So, sorry to interrupt you. The point of this, I know we haven't really talked at all actually today. So the point of this whole exercise for those that are listening and those that are on the call now, and you of course, is other people want to be where you are. We haven't really. We're going to get into what you have in a second here. But everyone thinks, they see you, they see how many properties you have, how many doors you have. By the way, how many doors do you have right now? How many properties do you own at this point?
Right now, 54 units currently.
54 units. Out of the 54 units that you've purchased, how much of your own money have you used to buy them?
I think I just bought the first one, which was $20,000.
Did you use your own money, or did you use investor money for that?
For the first one, I actually used. You know what I did? I used the profits from my first wholesale flip to buy that one.
So I'll ask you the question again. Of the 54 units that you own now, how much of your own money did you use?
Maybe some very small amount, but maybe also just nothing at all.
Yeah.
But if it is something, it's just for some deposits or something.
Right.
But yeah.
It's a negligible amount compared to the amount of assets that you have.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you did it in a very smart way. And so people look at that and they go, 54 units that you have actually that you own now that are fairly stable, that are on the uptick on stability, which we'll talk about in a second. You're working on a package right now that has, so you have quite a few under contract as well. Let's talk about those for a second. You have a contract out right now on a property that is going to be pretty much taking over somebody's debt, which you've done many times before. How many units is that one?
That one is 64. He actually hasn't countersigned it yet, but it's out there. Yeah, it's out there for to look at.
Is there a reason for him not to countersign? We basically gave him exactly what he was looking for.
Yeah, I think what he's doing is he's discussing it with his partners, the hard money lenders, and then that's what I think what's going on.
Yeah. So there's another 64, so you'll double your units there, and then you have another package that's in Illinois for how many units is that one?
That's 29.
And what's the value of that?
You mean purchase value or
no, the actual value, the market value of that property, those series of properties?
They're all valued at 900,000, depending on the fine comps and so on.
Right. So can we say 750 just to be conservative? Just if we want to pay it off. Okay, so 750. And what's your contract amount for?
Well, around $500,000.
How much?
around how? Well,
what's your contract amount for? Look, we're not the wholesale amount, not what we're looking for. Give me the actual number.
Just in case anyone's on the call.
Yes.
360 is
360.
Contract.
Right. So you're at about a third of the value, just over a third of the value, 30%. And then there's another on the package that's out right now on the 60 some units. What's the value of that package?
About $2 million.
And we're buying that for how much? I say we, but it's you. How much are you buying it for?
1.4 is the
And how much cash are you having to bring to the table if he accepts this?
2.25.
2.25. 200. You like that, don't you?
Yes. 2.25, Marco.
Which you don't normally say. 225,000.
I don't.
So basically, you have 10% down on the value of the package, and everything else is financed. And at that point, we're going to get into those details a little bit later. So there's you're looking just on those two deals alone, it's $1 million in equity. And what's the cash flow on the $2 million deal?
After debt service, it basically returns $80,000, just over $80,000 in net
in
operating
passive income
after debt service.
After debt service. And what about the Illinois one?
Illinois is about 110,000 NOI.
Okay, and that's after debt service, or that's before debt service?
There's no debt on that one.
Oh, gotcha.
So he might actually own a finance part of it, but there's no.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so there's about $200,000 a year in passive income there.
Yeah, and those two together,
yeah, which is another 20. Let's call it 15K a month in extra income for you, which will pretty much you're pretty much almost done at that point. But a lot of people see you and they go, well, you have a special gift, or you haven't struggled, or your marriage is perfect, your kids are perfect, you have a perfect life. They see the end, but they don't see the in between. And the point of this series is to really go and share the struggles more than the results, because obviously the results are there. That's why we're having this interview. By the way, every property, if anyone wants, proof, HUDs, addresses of the addresses closed, everything will be, is transparent. We're not trying to, inflate numbers. We're trying to be as real as we can. But what I really want to hone in on for the listener is, I'm listening to this, I'm at home, my life sucks, I can't stand my marriage, I can't stand my kids, I can't stand my job. I'm in a really shitty spot. I'm in a spot where I want out of something. And I don't know if you can relate to that, Roland, at all. But I'm in a terrible spot and I need to change something, and they don't know what to do. So I'm interviewing here to sort of help, if there's any advice or any things that you can share on the things that you've struggled, that you can empower others to listen to you and go, holy shit, this guy suffered too. There is hope for me. Yes, I can do this. And I just need to start doing X. And that's really what I want to try to figure out, is what is that X that others can really latch onto, so they can take you as an inspiration, whether they like you or your story or not. They understand that everyone has to struggle in order to succeed. They look at myself, or they look at you, or Raj. We did last month. I don't know if you're on Raj's call last month. He struggled. You've struggled as well, and that's really what I really want to focus on is the struggle and the deal. The first deal you got that maybe fell apart. The second deal maybe fell apart. The mobile home park that we buy that has great, has $8,000 a month in income, and then you buy it, and then suddenly it's a drug den and a prostitution den. All these things that have happened that have basically got us to where we are today. So all in half an hour, 45 minutes. So,
Okay.
So on a scale of happiness from when we met, the 3-day training, the first sort of the introductory 3-day class where I basically just give very basics on, it's a very basic class. It's like a high school class where you just learn the basics. There's a lot more to learn, obviously. But in that class, you knew there was something to learn. You knew there was something there. So the question I have for you on a scale of 1 to 10 on a happiness scale of your life, if you can look back a year, on a scale of 1 to 10 on happiness and fulfillment as to what you were was it like, what was it approximately?
You mean last year?
Yes, not this year. This year is obviously much better.
Look, it's maybe a 3 or something, or
Gotcha.
So fluctuating between a 1 and a 3, depending on if it's a good day or a bad day.
I understand. Okay, well, and also I know you're not an emotional person. You're a very numbers driven guy. So I love German people. Right. It's just you're not used to sharing personal things. So I understand that. Okay, so it's going to be me pulling. It's like pulling teeth. So luckily I'm a good dentist. Okay, so
I will not cry, Marco. I will not cry.
I will make you cry. You will cry. So then you make a decision to get mentored. And I'm not cheap, as you all know.
It's a big deal. Yeah, that was a big deal.
It's a big deal. You brought in your wife to make a decision to see if yes, you were saying.
You still remember when I wired the fee and I said
yes.
what I said? Yeah.
Yes, you said now I'm poor. And then I wrote, this is an investment in knowledge. You'll never be broke again.
I still have it on my phone, actually. Yeah. It was about October last year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is an investment in knowledge, and it takes a lot of balls to wire it's not a secret. I charge $100,000 a year to help people, and I guess emptied whatever account you had and said, here, I trust you, and let's get going. So then we started. All right, let's talk about your first deal then. So then we hit the ground running. I started beating over the head, not taking any excuses, and tell us about your first deal, the thing that sort of catapulted everything else.
I think so. Yeah, we started working together. I think it was in a week afterwards, and then I was, so at that time, obviously, I was working during the day, and then I spent time on this business basically when I got home. So I was working a lot basically, and then so it was like 2 or 3 hours usually after when I got home. And I think the first deal, so I was doing what you told me to do basically. And then I think the first deal was the 7 duplexes in Cleveland, Ohio, that I got under contract. Well, you told me how to get it under contract for, what was it, for 190. And then within 30 days, there was actually a buyer who for that portfolio at 250. And I think at that point, because I was just doing PDF documents, I was kind of like, and this, I mean, at that point also it was always my cat next to the laptop, probably thinking what the hell I'm doing. And even at that point when I signed all these things, I didn't really think it was going to be real until the money was wired into my account. So, and even at that point, also my wife was not. Yeah.
Right. 1 second. So you bought a package of properties, or tied up a package of properties. Yes. That had a value of how much? Do you remember?
I bought them for $190,000. Yes, $190,000.
What was the value though of the package?
I think it was around 300. If I remember, I might, it was a while ago. Maybe a bit more, maybe 400.
Okay, so I think it was closer to 350, 400, whatever. But it was more than 190. You tied it up for 190, and then you had someone buy it for 250.
Correct. Yes.
And then
within 30 days.
Yes.
Which was,
So you got a handsome dividend very quickly. You got a quick win on that wholesale deal, flip deal.
Yes.
Which is good. Okay. So, and while you were doing that, is that it? You sat on your hands. You started lighting a cigar, and
Yes.
you went to, you went to Monaco, and
The Maldives. No. No. I mean, I was quite motivated at that point. I mean, that's how it goes, right? If we get something rewarding, then get even more motivated. It's not like I wasn't motivated before. I mean, obviously I made the commitment and I was saying, I need to make this work. I mean, my mindset was, I mean, going back to what I said earlier, I think this is all about mindset. So I'll be honest, at that point I had nothing else. I had nothing else. I really had nothing else. And also I had made that commitment. So for me, it's kind of all or nothing. So my mindset was just, I work on this. I give it all that I can, and I think that's certainly, so I was working on it is what I'm trying to say. And it's not full time, but I was working on it during the nighttime after the kids go to sleep and all these things. But yeah, so no, I mean, after that closed, here's what I think happened. After that closed, it became quite real. It became quite real that this is a real business. That's how, and something certainly shifted there for me. And then, and then I started working on more deals. And also with my family, with my wife, like she saw that actually happening. I mean, you have to understand is that we're in London and we're just kind of like signing documents, and I didn't even invest any. I mean, I didn't have to pay a deposit for this transaction, or I didn't have to pay any money for it. And it's just, you almost just, it's kind of all quite surreal how this works with a flip, because you're just signing documents and then you get paid. And I didn't know that was possible before. And once I knew that was possible, I was certainly working much hard. No, if you can say I was spending even more time on it. I was more motivated to get more deals after that.
So how did okay, so sorry to interrupt you. So you got that flip, but you had other deals in the works that you were working, because you used I have the HUDs, I have the actual closing statements. 4 days later, you actually closed on another property that you actually paid using the proceeds of that deal.
I did, yes.
In Toledo. Tell us about that. How'd you find it, and what'd you pay for it?
I found that using the exercise that I was given in the, when was actually that was on the very first day, right? I think we were giving this Craigslist exercise.
Yep.
To do things on Craigslist, and that's how I found this property. It's I still remember it's 1719 Mansfield in Toledo. It was basically it was available. I had it under contract for $19,500. There was a tenant already inside, which I liked, and I basically used the proceeds of part of the proceeds of that flip to buy that property. So that was my next kind of transaction. Yeah, my general, I much prefer buy and hold, generally, because I think that's what this game is about for me. It's like building something in the long term, not just kind of flipping and so on. Obviously, you need flipping to get the capital, but so that was my next step. Really, I bought this property. I think there were a few $1,000s in repairs that I had to pay, but the numbers on it were quite good, because the rental income, there was already a tenant inside, and I had the lease agreement and everything. So that was my next transaction. I think that was in November, or I don't remember exactly when I completed that one. Yeah. But that was kind of the next step in my learning curve, to actually buy a property and hold it.
It was near the end of November. Do you remember how much do you make on that? Because there's no debt now, so there's no mortgage to pay. How much do you make on that property now?
On that one, it's usually about 60. I mean, you ready to pull it up? I actually don't know offhand, if you can believe it. Like the actual. Let me look here. On Mansfield, the NOI is. Quick look here. So I bought it for $9,500. I actually put $4,000 in repairs, so the total purchase price was about closer to $24K. The appraisal, in quotes, right? I mean, the appraisal on Fine Comps is about $50,000.
Is that now or then?
That was back then. I haven't updated it. Yeah, I'm looking at my spreadsheet. This is historical, so I haven't. But the NOI on it is $6,500 a year. So it's about just under $600 a month. is to net.
So you make about $6,000 a year on $7,200 a year then approximately.
$540 a month. Yeah. Yeah. And look, there've been some more repairs on it and things like that. So I had to go into more detail, but those are the numbers.
Approximately. Okay, cool. So and then so that one's good. So now you're starting to make some monthly cash. So you took the cash that you had. So 24,000 into that amount is about a 30% return.
It's the cap rate with no repairs was 33%, and then with repairs it was about 27% when I purchased it. So thereabouts.
So you'll make your money back every 3 years or so, 3.5 years.
Yeah,
which is good. Okay, good. Nice little win. And then what's next? So tell us about a deal that didn't go through. So so is it you put a property under contract and they all go through? Is that how it works, Roland?
Oh no, I put up tons of offers all the time, and basically most of them get rejected or no, basically like you get rejected based on purchase price, or you get rejected, some are quite violently rejected, I can say so myself. for a German, some of these American responses are pretty, but yes, so it's not, but I think I also kind of accepted that's part of the game, or not the game, that's part of the business. That's part of the method, in this case, because we're buying off market. So, but most of them get rejected. I think, I'm trying to think at that point, I think, I put a lot of contracts out and probably less than 10% of them get accepted or I get some sort of activity on. And even if I get activity on it, maybe just half of those could actually
go through.
Or something happens, or
do you have any contracts that you've put out that you've gotten accepted? It was a great deal, but you just couldn't do anything with it. Has that happened?
Yes, a lot.
Yeah, because many people get a property under contract and they think they're going to get rich on it. Like, oh, I have a contract; it's a guaranteed money maker. It's just not how it works. You can't be married to the. And I think one big thing that you've learned is just because you have a contract doesn't mean it's a license to make money. It's you get one, you lose one, you get one, you lose one, and you don't really lose money that you don't have. So the contract is there, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. You've probably the one thing that sort of stands out on what you do is you're a volume guy. You make at least 100 offers. At least 100 offers, knowing that only one or two might go through. Hundreds of offers. Am I wrong in that? Do you have only 5 offers that go out, or there's literally tons of conversations that you do on a daily basis?
I have the Midas touch. Every conversation yields one project. that's just I'm just a property guy,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
No, look,
bullshit on that one.
It's I don't know what the ratio is. I never measured it, but it's you send hundreds of emails out. I mean, I think even in that first exercise that I was given, I think I sent 300-400 emails out, and I think I only got like a handful that I couldn't even take to the next course because I think you were doing calls.
Uh-huh.
That was part of the exercise. So yeah, and that's pretty much still the same. Much more disappointment than whatever the opposite is, appointment, than actually things going through, So, and I think I've accepted that as part of my process, certainly, yeah.
That's good.
I still do that now, and people who, I work with and so on.
Good. Okay, so you learned how to get rejected a lot. You learned rejection, which is important, which the magic word is no. You expect it because no one's always going to say yes. You have a few contracts that go through. You have some that, you got a home run right away, which was nice. It happens. It's if you don't play the game, you'll never win. What's the next big deal or the next big opportunity that you got? Tell us about that one. The next, what was the property that you got after that one?
Look, I mean, I think the next one after that, I pretty much stuck. There was, let's see here. I was working a little more on the single and multifamily homes, so I'm trying to think exactly in the sequence what the next one was. I think the next one was probably the one in Canton, which was an owner finance deal.
Yep, let's talk about that one real quick. But was it owner finance, or are you taking over the debt?
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I'm taking over someone else's debt, which was the first time I ever did that one, and that one was a pretty big learning curve. I still remember you were actually here. And you gave me all those documents. You gave me all these documents to read, and I just got complete brain freeze because they were like really complicated. You're assigning things here and there to all these different entities, and I read them quite a few times. smart guy as I am, I still had to read them several times, you know, and I still didn't fully. I actually, as we just discussed, I ended up still making. I think there's a mistake still on some of these docs, but that was the first time I got introduced to this whole thing about taking over somebody's debt, but so those were basically two units in Canton.
Stop for a second. So you took over someone's debt. How much cash did you have to give to the seller?
$8,000.
And how much money do you make per year on that deal?
It's about $5,000-6,000, or maybe even more, maybe closer to 8,000, between 6 and 8,000, something like that.
Let's call it 7.
Right.
So you gave the seller 8.
Yes, I gave him 8. Yes.
And you net 7 every year.
Yes.
Was that a good use of his money? Was that a good use of your cash?
My money.
And you use that, obviously, use that. That also, you still have money from the proceeds of your first flip that you used on that. So
I still use. That's correct. Yeah. So that was still yeah. That's correct.
Which is a 90% return on that. So it's fantastic. Very good. And then I know you had so a couple of go ahead. Sorry.
Well, there was one which didn't end up happening, which was in Ashland, Pennsylvania. I don't know if you want to.
We can. Let's talk about that one. And why didn't it go through? Because the numbers on that were fantastic.
Well, that one was really good. I mean, that one was on paper. It was I think it was $234,000, purchase price, and I think I got it under contract. But I would have only had to pay $30,000 down, which I would have gotten back. I think 50% return in the first year, something like that, net after paying the guy, and so on. Well, what ended up with that one is he didn't actually own the title on one of the properties. So, and the local lawyer pointed this out to me. I mean, I frankly still wanted to do it anyway. But then I talked to you about it, and you said, no, it's not worth it, is what you said in the end. So I walked from that one. That was not easy to walk from that one because that was a really nice deal. And I think he did actually end up selling that one. And I always wonder about that one. You always wonder about the ones that you miss. But in the end, yeah. So, but it was also, I think that was the right choice because number one, there was a title issue, and number two, it's a pretty small town, and it would have been hard to manage, no matter what. I did have a property manager at the time, but again, now I have also other deals to compare to. So, it's kind of like whenever you have the deal, you really want that deal to close. At least for the first couple of months, every time I signed a contract, I really wanted that contract to close. Especially at the advanced stages, and it's kind of an interesting thing. But it's not always meant to close. So, but that's also again
part of the learning curve.
There's a mentor.
Yes, it's not just what you buy, but it's what you walk away from that will save you. Because there are some deals that you really should never close. They look great, but they're terrible. They're literally bombs in disguise or grenades that to the untrained person will eat you alive. If you have a bad deal that you're losing money on every month, or there's problem tenants every month, or there's there's a crisis every month, it'll suck you dry. It's worse than being in a bad marriage.
And as a German, we know a lot about grenades, so we don't want any more grenades. No, guys. Yes. Okay. So that was one that didn't go through. I don't know if that's the one. Let's see what else. I think the next one might have been Leyburn, which was in Toledo again. It was a multifamily unit in Toledo. And so at that point, some interesting things happened. I started to talk to people about what I was doing, and we had a guy in my company who was doing the logos or the icons for our games. He's basically an artist, and then he said he wants to buy a property. So basically, he gave me money to buy a property for him, which was really strange because I didn't even know that he had savings, or it was a very strange thing. And that's also, I think that was around. I don't know if that was my next one, but it would have been pretty close. And that was a property in Toledo, and I bought it for $18,000. It was about actually that one also, it was supposed to be only $4,000 in repairs. It ended up being $8,000. They completed the $4,000 in repairs, and then they turned on the tap, and then there were leaks everywhere. And the guy told me there's leaks everywhere, so we had to put another $4,000 in. But in any case, it still works out because the NOI on it is $5,000 a year. So even with the repairs, it's a 20 cap. It's not as great, like it's not over a 20 cap, but it's still a 20 cap.
What's your percentage on that?
I own 50% of that one.
So wait a second. You had someone else fund the deal, someone else fund the repairs, and you get half.
Yeah,
Cool.
which was cool. Yeah.
None of your own money again. Interesting. Let's fast forward. Let's fast forward the smaller ones because you did a series of small ones after that. So you're getting your confidence. People are now wanting to give you money to be able to invest because they see that you're doing well. You're starting to talk with more confidence. It's no longer some guy out of Canada that lives in the U.S. that lives in Florida that is teaching a class. It's now you actually doing this, which is good.
Yeah.
I believe you came to the luxury event at one point.
Yes.
And we actually nailed down the Dr. Sharma deal.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about that lovely deal.
So what happened is, I think I just asked you. I was doing a number of smaller deals, and then I asked you what should I do next. And I think at some point you said focus on commercial. And I think I just said what in commercial, and you just recommended mobile home parks. So that's where I went into mobile home parks. And so there was a mobile home park in Arkansas, Blytheville, Arkansas, from a medical doctor in California. He was going through a divorce, and basically I got that under contract from him for it was $250,000. So that was the first larger deal for me.
Okay, wait a second. So, and what was the advertised income at that point?
The advertised income was about $5,000 a month, I think, or was that the net? I'm wondering if that was the net or the gross. Actually, maybe the gross was 8,000, and the net was 5,000. I think it was the net was 5,000. So and he sent me that on a, that was what he disclosed, on the park. And so it looked really great. It looked like a 20 cap. It turned out to be not a 20 cap. It's still one of my projects where I have to, there's some investment going in. And I think you mentioned it. So, I mean, with that park, basically, we inherited a property manager. And I think I remember actually you already said you had a hunch about this person, and there was something already kind of in the works that it seemed like a bit weird. And then he turned out to be, I think he was cooking. He was either dealing or cooking drugs.
Both.
I never found out what drugs he was doing.
Yeah, meth.
Meth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. It's like the movies in America, right? And then he was also doing this, like whatever, the brothel or something. Like
yes.
But look, that doesn't. Well, that bugs me too, but he stole from the park. That was the big problem. So the numbers basically were like the first month, we only got like $2,000 in rent or something, and so that was a really huge disappointment. And so,
sorry to interrupt you. Do we actually get 2,000? Because if we got 2,000, that's a lot more than I thought we actually got. Because I part of what I do is I went to Arkansas to look at to meet.
You did.
And I knocked on the door.
Edward. Yeah.
And Edward knocked on the door, and Edward tells me to wait. He hadn't paid us at all. He basically was avoiding Roland's call. Roland's like, I don't understand why he's not calling me back, because Roland is a very polite man. And if someone doesn't call him back, he's like, well, let me call him back tomorrow. Maybe he'll answer tomorrow. He's busy. Yes. It's like, pardon my expression, but fuck that, man. He needs to answer that. Like, he's managing the park. He needs to be responsive. And I literally go in there, surprise him, and he's laying on a couch telling me to wait. He comes out. I can see that he's drugged out. I have a list of who's supposed to be paying and who's not supposed to be paying, and which tenants are supposed to be there or not there. He's actually taken deposits and put them in, paid cash when you're not supposed to take cash. The guy's stealing from the park. I think you were on the phone when I fired him. Were you on the phone when I was yelling at the guy?
I definitely remember you yelling at the guy. You had me. You wanted me to listen to that, like, because that was not necessarily my strong side, and to an extent still not is my strong side. But yes, I remember that you were pretty pissed off, mm-hmm. And you know that you were pissed off, and it was also then, but up until that point also it wasn't quite clear to me still. So and I think then finally sort of, the puzzle pieces came together. I mean, certainly. I mean, I don't know if it was 2,000 in a month, but I think some rent did come in, but it was never on time, and it was always stretched out, and it was just a complete mess. It was very, really, really unclear. And at the same time, we had expenses. So we had the septic tank filling up, and so there had to be sort of, there was money that had to be invested in it, and so it was not a good situation at that time. And so I think you fired him, and then we got in. I think that's right. And then I lined up some interviews, and I tried to line up a lot of interviews, but I think we only had very few interviews that day, because it was quite hard to find a new manager for whatever reason, like at that time, or maybe I wasn't doing it right or something. But we ended up finding a new manager for the park, and I think he so we quickly switched the park manager over, and I think from that point there was a slow turnaround. It was still it got a lot worse, I think, before it got better. It was kind of like I was up here when I bought it, and then it crashed, and then some changes, and it's slowly kind of upward, and I think now it's starting to
we're at the turnaround point where
yes.
And what's the net on that one at the moment?
To be honest, the net I haven't calculated that from last month yet.
Let's figure out what the gross is. What's the gross right now? What's coming in?
So the gross. So when we took it over, it was basically let's say it was initially it was nothing, and then it was like maybe $1,000 and $1,500, and then slowly brought up. Eventually, for the last 90 days, the average is probably about $2,700 in rent. And I think, knock on wood, for December, we should be getting $4,000 or close to $4,000.
Good. And the potential on that is what?
8.
So we're halfway there on that one.
And that matches when we first got into it. I mean, when we first got it, it was probably so what happened is we went through all these evictions, and after the evictions, it was basically a park at 20% occupancy. It was like an empty park, a ghost park. And then we had to put new people in, people that we liked, and so the occupancies gradually started to rise, and it was like 30%, 35%. I think now we're over 50%. I actually have to check in December. We should be at 60% now, which matches the
yes,
$4,000, $8,000. So those and the park also it's gotten a much better vibe now, and Blytheville people are. This was actually known as kind of a drug park. I did, we didn't know that, I guess, but it had a kind of a bad stigma to it because of what Edward was doing there. And as soon as we changed all of these things, I think a lot of, the perception changed, and the tenants also, tenants heard about it that normally would not have lived there. And I think, so a lot of good things are happening with this project now.
So did you learn a lot through the problems with the drugs, the prostitution, the police calls, the eviction lawyers, the this, the that,
Yes.
It sounds like hell, and actually it was. We're smiling at it now, but we've both had some heated arguments over it.
Yes.
Would you do it again? Like, knowing what you know now, was it worth the learning opportunity to go through it?
Well, I wouldn't do it again. I wouldn't buy another park with a drug manager was managing it.
Of course not.
No, I know what you mean. And so I think it's just how these things work. You always learn through the struggles, and it's no different. It's no different there. You know what it is. I think in some ways I'm grateful it happened to me early on. It's similar to this unit in Leyburn when they turned on the tap and it started leaking. I'd rather learn these things now than later. In terms of I'd rather have it that way rather than every project is a success and oh my God, it's I have all this money from it. So I think for me that was actually all as it meant to be. It's meant to happen this way, I guess, in my path. So I definitely learned a lot, and you take these things to the next project.
Exactly.
When I evaluate projects now, I can evaluate them with more, hopefully, with more intelligence than
the thing that I admire most about you, Roland, is your you don't get frazzled, and you take everything as an learning opportunity. And yes, I've been there to help you through this, through many of it. But you really take you see it as a learning opportunity. You don't see it as a setback. You see it as an opportunity to learn more and to grow from it. And I find that extremely admirable, because I work with some people and they have a setback and literally they don't call me for 2 weeks after because something went wrong, which is very, very sad, because that's just life. Shit happens, and you just got to deal with it. And through that, you learn so much. You learn more through the shit than you do through the good times. You have to in order to grow, there's a stretch, there's a pain. Growth is painful. You have to struggle.
Yeah. For some reason, it's the universe designed it this way, unfortunately. But I think that's how it works. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've struggled a lot, so it's going to be a very good park. It will make $8,000 a month. It will have it will make 8,000. We're pretty much we're on the right path there to do that by the end of 2017 or middle of 2017 for sure. Yeah. And did you use your money for that? Were you able to? So how did you fund that park? Were you able to? How did that happen?
Well, there was an investor out of Canada who funded that project, and so I didn't use my own money in that project now.
Yeah. So we found an investor partner, and they funded it, and it's been good. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. I'm glad I was able to help you with that. Then you bought another park very closely after that too in Florida.
Yes, Florida. Yes, Okeechobee.
Tell me about that.
That was a funny thing. Because,
how many units? How many units?
Sorry, it's an 8-unit park. It's a smaller park. Right next to the Lake Okeechobee. Mm-hmm. I mean, to be honest, I was taught not to look at Florida and California, or at least in my mind, that's what I remember from it. It was like, you can look at it, but it's much harder to find deals there. That's what I remember. And I think in Florida, so I didn't spend that much focus on it, to be honest, in Florida. But for whatever reason, there was this park that came through, and it never worked out. I think I talked to him for 4 months or 5 months. I wouldn't even have thought that was going to work out, and then I guess he got more and more motivated on it. I don't know. I think they needed the money for something. So it ended up being the projected cap rate was basically 19.4% on this project, which is well, I think you shared with me. It's quite unusual to find, or it's possible, but it's quite unusual to find those projects in Florida.
It is. There's a lot of people that are a lot of New Yorkers, a lot of money, a lot of Canadians. Want to retire in Florida, so they scoop up because they see a Toronto or UK 3, 4, 5% return. So they're thrilled with an 8-9% return in Florida. So it's very, very difficult to do. But there's a lesson learned here for those of you that are listening to this. So you followed up diligently for 4 months with the guy, and then it popped. Yeah. And there's a fortune in the follow-up. I believe most of your deals that are good, that are solid, have not been a one contact sport. It's been a relationship building of, it's planting seeds, saying no, going back and forth, you sticking to here's what we can do, and then them coming back and say, okay, I'm ready for you now.
Yeah, that is how it is. And I also one thing that I noticed early on, which was interesting, was I kind of enjoyed it. There's something enjoyable about this process of reaching out to these people and interacting with them and staying in touch with them. I actually like it, and so to me it doesn't feel like work. And it was a really important part of why I think I stay in touch with some of these. I just ping them again. I ping them again after a week or after a month, and if they say no, I just keep pinging them until it's sold. Once it's sold, I don't ping them anymore. Well, unless they have something else. But and I think so I do that. Yeah, I think for me I do tend to do that quite a bit. Yeah, I don't just break it off. I just keep talking to people.
Leave the door open, which is very important.
Yeah.
So, what's the if you could talk to yourself, knowing what you know now, and the almost 55 doors that you have, and by the end of in 2017, I'm pretty confident you'll have over 200 doors with what you have cooking, because there's still another park in Arkansas that you're about to close on. There's a lot of deals that you're working on. And I don't want to get too bogged down into how many deals you have, because that's not really the important part.
Yeah.
The important part that I really want to focus on is, if you could talk to someone, if you could talk to yourself or any one of the people that are on the call right now, what is the one thing that you can extrapolate from the lessons that you've learned? What are the top 2, 3, 4 things that you think people should really know going into this if they're struggling now?
Well, I think the first one we discussed, it's pretty obvious that happened with me too. First you struggle, then you succeed, then you struggle again, until you succeed. and you struggle again. It's like it's always a bit of a struggle in terms of like things. It's always like that. I think for me, the way I can describe it is it's like that. But as long as it goes up in terms of knowledge and in terms of what I'm building, then it's the right thing. But it's never just like that. That's probably one thing. The second thing is, I mean, again, for me, I have taken some other courses to work on myself. I'll share that quite a lot, because I really wanted to figure out myself properly before I embark into anything new. And I think that's important. And I think that's important to work on yourself beyond this property thing. If there's other things, other courses, I think these all will contribute to success in this business or in any business, but in this business in particular, because you have setbacks to deal with. And if you don't have the mindset of just I will succeed, I will continue, I will succeed in this business, there's no question I will succeed. Like there's no doubt in my mind. There has to be no doubt. It's going to be really hard to actually then make it work. So to me, I think that's really important, to have the right mindset. And then the third one is, I think, the value of doing it, not doing it alone, the value of having a mentor, the value of there are other students. I always enjoy going to the event. I talk to other students and hear their successes and their struggles. And I learn from both. If there's a huge success, there's part of me that goes like, oh, damn, he's been successful, he made this money. But there's also a part of me that goes, well done, it's like we're all kind of growing as a group, and if there's a struggle, to some extent, that's even more valuable. I always learn more from the struggles if things go wrong, what's going wrong, and I try to listen to those stories as well. So I think those would be the three sort of things, have a, those three sort of things I would share on that.
Very, very good. So, yeah. So good. I'm going to open up for questions for everyone else. If you guys have any questions, post it in your question box, and I'll do what I can here to answer. Anything else to add, Roland, at all? How is from where you are now? I asked you earlier on a happiness level from 1 to 3. 1 to 10. You were between a 1 and a 3, depending on the day. Today, on a happiness level, what would it be from a 1 to a? Is it now a 4.5? Is it a 0?
So before I was a 1 and a 3. I'd say now I would fluctuate between a 7 and a 9.
That's good.
I don't know. I mean, there's still stuff, right? But I think I'm in a better space, and I think for me, once I achieve, there's still certain goals I want to achieve with what I'm building here, and once I achieve those, I think then. I'm still building. I'm still see it as building a foundation. Very much for me, and it's just the first year. So, and I think you say it takes 3 years. So
yeah, it takes 3 years to go from rags to riches. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And but something I do want to I want to compliment you on as well, because this is we speak a lot. Sometimes not as much as we should, but when we speak a lot for hours. You had an opportunity. Let's talk about. You had an opportunity to revisit the work that you had. You had to go back to the old job that you had. Did you learn anything? Can you apply any of the things that you learned in the real estate space or the negotiation that you've done in the real estate space? Did you notice a similarity? Let's talk about that for just a second, because I think that was a big aha moment for you, where you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I was in a situation basically where I had to shut down a company, and I'd never been through that, and ironically, part of the process when you shut something down, when something isn't working out, and you have a lot to deal with creditors and people who like angry people, and I really used a lot of what I learned here to negotiate some of the debt. And some of these outstanding creditors down. And that was actually, I still remember actually that the language I used in my emails was very similar to what you told me to use in mine. So I didn't use any capital letters, or I just wrote almost like I didn't, it's almost like I didn't care, but I did care obviously, but it was a very, certain style of email. And I was really surprised because within a week or two, 80% of that problem was solved. It's still not, still some ongoing stuff, but that actually surprised me that it does flow over to other areas. And also I think I'm a bit more I'd say I'm a lot more confident when dealing with investors, and we were dealing with new people, new potential business partners, and so on. I think I've built a bit of a shell as a result of the work that I've done for the last 12 months.
So
that I probably definitely was lacking before that.
Are there people that want to give you money now for deals?
There are people who want to give me money for deals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when they hear of your results, are they skeptical? And let's talk about negativity for a second, and then we'll go to questions. Are there people have there been negative people around you that have told you that this is all ridiculous from the very beginning to where you are now, or in between? Have there been any has there been a negative void or negative space or negative nannies that have said, "You're crazy, you're going to lose your money, you're insane, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Was is going on?
Was is los?" Yes. Well, I could share one sort of funny thing. I did actually catch up. It happened to be earlier today with the person who first introduced me to this course, and we are actually having a project together. But even with all that, he still shared with me, Roland, I'm still not sure this is actually working. This is actually a real thing. So I'm not kidding. And I was actually really surprised. We're actually working on a project together. He puts the money in, but he still cannot, and it's the same thing. I think he says, like, this is like a test. I want to see it working, and only when it becomes real for some people, only when it's actually, I don't know, there has to be some sort of point that people have, it seems like, so absolutely, I think, that's the case. I mean, I'm not even sharing it it's really hard to share with my family what I do, to be honest. They actually, I mean, to be fair, they actually, they helped me out on one of the deals, which was the first time ever, I think, they actually helped me out in that way, in terms of actually, they co-invested in one of the deals. And that was also very interesting for me, because, usually the things that I do, they do not participate in that, but they actually did. And that's despite there's still a lot of skepticism and so on, but they somehow must have seen something, that was different, around what I'm doing now. But yes, I mean, I think there's a lot of, I mean, the best way to explain it is each day I talk to investors, you basically get objections all the time. It's like, hello, I'm doing this. Oh, but how can you buy them remotely? How can you make sure this is not happening? How can you make sure? And all the time you just spend on answering objections. And if you can answer the objections, then you may have a chance to shift this person's viewpoint from a negative one to or a skeptic. It's not really I don't know if it's negative. It's certainly very skeptical that this kind of business could work, or that you can actually, if it's working, why isn't everyone doing it, and all these things.
So why isn't everyone doing it?
Well, you need to have the knowledge to do this. I mean, if you would have told me, if I might have met you a year ago, or it's kind of like, what's the difference between what I do now and what I did back then? It's just I learned something new, and I think one of the things I do believe in, especially when you reach a certain age, you got to take shortcuts to knowledge. That sometimes means investing, or your time, or your money, or whatever you can, to actually get the knowledge, because that's one of the things I truly believe in. You have to learn from other people's mistakes in order to, whatever you want to call it, stand on the shoulders of others, or whatever you want to, I don't know, like, just learn from other people who've done it before. And so, I think that's it will really accelerate. There's no, I mean, the bottom line is, if I hadn't taken this course, there was no way I could have done all these things that I'm doing now. And now I'm building on these things to do other things, which is, based on the knowledge, and I have the knowledge. I mean, when people ask me now, I know things. I don't know everything yet. I'm still a student in it. I consider myself a student, but I'm able to answer questions with confidence. And if I know the answer to it, and if I don't, then
Roland,
I don't.
Roland, I'm a student. I've been doing this 17 years, and I learn something every day. So I'm in order to be a good. I'm still a student myself, so I understand. Okay, so we're going to go to some quick questions. Roland, thank you very much, by the way, for sharing. I know sharing is sometimes not easy, and I know it's like 5 o'clock in the morning for you, and you have to go to the airport in 2 minutes. By the way, is that your toy in the background on the far left? That's all I can look at right now. Look behind your right shoulder, the other shoulder. The orange toy, is that yours? Is that what you play with?
Yes, Marco. I'm one of those people.
Okay.
That's probably the toy from my 2-year-old.
You're okay. So there is humor in you. That's great.
There is hope for the German.
Yes, there is hope for the German. Okay, so Joe is asking. She asked a whole bunch, but I'm going to pick the best one here. How much time do you spend now versus initially on the business?
Well, I spend more. Well, let me see. I spend more time because before I was only doing it. I had a full-time job, if you like, or I was doing something else during the day, and then I worked on it only a few hours. You know, I mean, if I come home at 7 or 8 o'clock, you know, I have to eat, I have to talk to my wife, you know, maybe put the kids to bed, and then I have 2 or 3 hours to maybe work on it, you know, and that was how I first started. Now, then I eventually got out of that job after a couple of months I think it was I don't remember exactly, February or March. I was no longer involved in that particular job. And then I was able to actually focus my efforts more in some ways on property. And so, you know, I wouldn't say it's, you know, it's a really interesting thing with it because there's actually not that much compared to what I was doing before. Is you really have to be in the office. You really have to be on the email all the time. With this one, you certainly need to be on top of things, but you can actually afford to take a few hours out of the day and, you know, do something else or attend a course. I mean, as Marco said, I attended a marketing course actually last week, and ironically, I found some more investors there for property as well. But you know, it's kind of strange because it's you're able to allocate your own time. Because at the end of the day, once you own the project, it's more about project management, and then every month you get the reports, and you have to review the results and make corrections. So so I would say it in both ways. I would say it's certainly more time when I first started because it's 80% of my time is, you know, in terms of work things that I'm doing is on property, or maybe a bit more even. I'm quite focused on that area, but within that I'm working on different things. And but at the same time, it's also quite flexible. I mean, that's what I really like about it. I actually have a goal. I mean, in August, my family and I, we took a 1-month vacation, which I have to admit, I did steal this idea from Marco. I never heard of someone taking a 1-month vacation every year. And I just went to my wife and I said, we're going to take a 1-month vacation. And we did. And we just did. You know, we were on holiday. I was still answering my emails. And to be honest, it's in my goals for next year again to do a 1-month vacation. With my family and with my wife and 2 kids, because we should, you know, we should. It's not only about work, and it's about balancing other things. And that was the first time I've never. I mean, I don't think we've ever done that, like literally ever, like maybe for a week or something, but not for 4 weeks.
Good for you. Now, next month is 2-month vacation, okay?
2 vacation, yes. Yes.
I forgot to ask you. Do you remember the day you left your job?
Not the exact day.
No, the day. What it was like. What when you realized that was it. Was it? How did that feel?
Well, very liberating to some extent. You. It's like a weight is lifted off your somewhere. You know, Germans don't have hearts, so you know it's lifted off somewhere. and
You're terrible. You're terrible.
You kind of leave. Just kidding. You know, it's just so you have. There's a huge amount of baggage that was dropped at that point, and I was feeling quite encouraged and quite motivated to spend more time on what I was doing on this new, you know, on the property business. To be honest, I felt good about it, and I think that's important to me now. Right now I've changed my perspectives on lots of things. It's no longer necessarily the money is important, and it's very much you know, very disciplined. I don't want to mislead anyone. I'm very disciplined on this point. I have certain goals I want to meet and so on. However, I do follow my gut feeling a lot more with things, with anything now. Like if the gut feeling is not correct, I will not do it.
Good for you.
Yeah, that's one big shift, I would say.
Good.
So, yeah.
Okay. Ken asked about a meetup group of some kind that might be available. I'm gonna comment to that. Some of you want to meet each other to sort of get together and talk about your mistakes. Have you met with other? There's a productive way of doing business and unproductive way of doing business. I've seen some meetups where people get together and it's a terrible disaster because everyone sort of circles in negativity and doesn't really focus on a higher level of challenging themselves. So whenever you do want to meet up group or create a meetup group, make sure the person that's leading that has the intent of furthering the group as a whole, not just basically becomes it could become quite negative. Malik is asking, what kind of class assets do you have? So you have mobile home parks, you have multifamilies, and you have single families. Are there more than that?
Yes. Currently, that's it. Yeah. So I guess the class I skipped is the apartment buildings. I somehow went past it, or I haven't done one yet. Yeah.
Well, we're working on that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's okay. Whatever opportunities.
Darcy out of Winnipeg wants to know, once you get it under contract, what's the very first thing that you do?
I pray. No, I schedule the inspection. Probably it's one of the first things on my mind. And I probably take a closer look at the project, because when I put projects under contract, I may not, to be honest, I don't do detailed due diligence yet. So, so when I do have them under contract, I really look at the area in more detail. Maybe I call the police station, and sometimes to see, they're actually really funny sometimes. They give you funny answers, funny people sometimes. So police station, property managers, and just do these kind of like enhanced KYC, get the lease agreements, if there's lease agreements of tenants. Those are probably this is more than one, but those are some of the things that I think about. Just dig more into it, and make sure it's actually a real opportunity.
Right. Mo has a good question. He was with you in the class that you attended. Same class, completely different results. What made you trust me, Marco, a complete stranger, with your life savings?
Well, this comes down to a gut feel that you have. I mean, this is hard to explain, right? Why do some people trust each other? I think, as I said before, I mean, look, I'm quite analytical about these things. So I had a few check boxes, probably mental check boxes. The first one is, does this person know what he's talking about? And so that kind of, to me, is answered when questions are answered in a way that makes sense and things like that. The second one was, does this person seem to tell the truth? At least most of the time, or is a generally truthful person, authentic person. That's probably the second one, and those things, and then the third one is just sort of and then I mean I got my wife to listen in too. I mean, I trust my wife, and she's usually also another gate, like, because I'm a little crazy sometimes when, I mean, you have to be a little bit crazy to do what I did. And I am. I won't admit that I'm not. I am a little bit crazy, because I think not everybody would. I mean, again, it was not even me who attended this course. It was someone else who got me in, and the whole thing is just really surreal that I actually ended up making this commitment. And it was at a time where I was really looking for. And then the fourth factor is actually, I think, you did say this was going to be a one-to-one with you, and I really was attracted to working with you, Marco, on it, because I think you've done it before, and you were really able to accelerate the goals that I have, and so it was a combination of these things. I think but these things are not always easy to.
Yeah, I understand that. You literally only knew me for 3 days, and after 3 days, you had to. It was a $100K investment. I understand that it's not easy. So I'm going to ask you a different question: is knowing what you know now, would you do it again?
You were also a little bit funny, just a little bit. So I think that was good.
Would you do it again if you had to do it all over again?
Yes, I would do it again. Yes.
Good.
I would do it again now. Now that I know everything that I know, yes, I would. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. But I'll be honest, that initial leap is extremely difficult. Very, very painful. Very, very difficult. Which is I still remember, it's very painful to click the button for the wire. To who knows wherever it went. I think it went to Utah or somewhere, and that's the hardest point. It's almost like once it's done, you feel some relief, and then once you get going, it gets you just get busy. But I think that's the hardest point.
I can tell by how you're you're moving your body that it's still uncomfortable. You're remembering how terrible it was. All right. All right. So someone says, if someone doesn't pay rent, my property manager suggests not to evict since there might be vandalism caused by the property. First of all, I'm going to answer that. Get rid of your property manager. That's a terrible, terrible advice. As soon as they don't pay, you have to evict them immediately, or everyone's not going to pay. But you can answer that if you like, Roland, since it's directed to you.
Sorry, what was the question again? If there's avoiding an eviction, basically.
Yes.
Versus
should you not evict, or should you let them just stay there forever without paying, since that's what the property manager suggested? BMAR, get rid of your property manager immediately. Terrible.
Yeah, it's better to evict them
immediately.
Yeah.
If you operate out of fear, you're going to lose your business quickly. If your tenants are ruling it, it's terrible. Does anyone have any questions at all for Roland? Roland is coming to Success Reflex this weekend at my home, which you've never attended, but it will really change a lot of things. It's a newer program that I have, and we
look forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun, and you'll get to meet some of the people that are on this call actually. So Jerry, you're going to get to meet Roland directly. All so right. What's your? I'm going to ask you what your end game? What's your goal? What are you? At what point will you stop this? You have 54 doors. You'll have 200 with the contracts that you have going out right now, and I'm familiar with all of them since I help you with these.
Yeah,
you'll be at 200 units very soon, which is a tremendous amount of units. What's next? Are you going to keep getting more? Or are you going to stop? What's next for you?
Well, I mean, I want to keep growing the portfolio up until a point where. Again, I have certain goals that I have in mind, and I want to meet those goals. I think at some point, I just love right now. I just love to keep growing it, and as long as I keep having fun with growing this and doing exactly this, then I want to keep doing that. At the same time, I'm also working on some, like some digital product again that's related to this. All the things that I learned. So it's kind of going full circle back into what I was doing before, which is more technology stuff. But I'm also started working on something like that, and so that's pretty much all. That's the main focus, So it's going to be these two things. Keep growing the property portfolio, keep growing the income, and it doesn't have to go again like this, but as long as it keeps growing, in some sort of upward trend. And, and the reason why I do it is obviously for my family. And I think once my family is taken care of, then it's kind of how these things work. Then it becomes about contribution to others, really, right? So that's my immediate family, which is my wife and my two kids. I mean, for example, with my son, I'd love for him to go to a private school, which right now we can't afford. He's a really energetic sort of little boy, and I think he would be doing much better in a specialized school. And these things are very expensive. I mean, London is generally very expensive. So
it's insane. I don't know how anyone lives there.
Yes, we should leave. Yeah, it's very expensive, and
$5,000 a month, $10,000 a month doesn't get you anything in London. It's terrible.
It's one of those places. So there's certainly growth, grow, and at the same time, I'm just looking at again. Yeah, I'm also working on a project back in kind of there.
Okay.
Apply my tech skills.
One last word of advice for the person that's wanting to get involved, that's scared. Let's talk about fear for a second as our last point of discussion. Tell me about fear. What if my tenant doesn't pay? What if this doesn't work? What if all these negative things? What do you have to say about that?
It's just like some of these courses that I took. I mean, I'd like to say something like, it's almost like the answer to all your questions will be at the other side of fear, or the ultimate, like at the other side of fear will be your entire life. So I would say, I would be specific on that. If there is something you're afraid about, attack it first. Attack it right now first. Get it out of the way first. Address it. Remove this, and then, because otherwise it will always stay there, and it will always be there, like over your head, and it will actually slow you down. So that's actually what I would say. And it's quite normal to have fear. I think I think fear, like humans are built with fear due to historical reasons, like how we Darwin or whatever. But it used to be we're scared of lions and stuff, but now we're scared of almost nothing at all. And like it's actually stupid. I mean, like right now I could be fearful of something, but I'm actually just sitting in this room. There's nothing to be scared about. So anyway, it's a long answer to the question, but I think always, I would address it immediately. And if there is a tenant, for example, you're scared of losing this tenant, just do the right thing, really quickly. So in this case, evict the person who's not paying the rent.
Immediately.
Yeah, if it's the right advice. Yeah.
Something exactly. And if you are afraid of something, find someone that's not afraid of it to help you deal with it and give you the right answer. Because with knowledge, fear disappears.
Find someone fearless like Marco, who has no fear left. Yes.
Well, I have only no fear left because I've had a lot of arrows thrown at me and survived. And once you survive enough, you realize there's nothing to be afraid of anymore. But I was quite terrified. But this isn't about me. This is about you, Roland. I'm very proud of you. You've worked very hard. You have a fantastic family. You've come a long way personally with your family as well. We haven't really touched on that, but I think your marriage is better than it ever has been from when I first met you. And there was a lot of personal issues going on, and I'm honored to know you. You've become a good friend, and you've come a long way, and I'm extremely proud of you. Like, you've done very, very well. And I really hope that all of you who are listening to this understand that he has come a long way. He is as special as he is now. He's not that special in that all of you can achieve the same things. He doesn't have a magic potion, although he is drinking green juice. It's what he does. Harry, he drinks a lot of green juice. That's what he does.
Yes.
And he's just focused on taking care of himself, his family, and eventually contributing, which is a big thing for him. So thank you all for being on the call tonight. Roland, thank you for taking the time. I know you have an early flight in the morning. I'll see you tomorrow, actually, and or tonight or later today, whatever you want to say, a different part of the world. Thank you very much, guys, for being on the call. Hopefully this was inspirational for you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We're going to have another call next month, beginning of the month, every Thursday. First Thursday of the month is going to be our allocated time as of 2017. Roland, I look forward to seeing you this weekend. All the best to your family, and thank you very much for taking the time. Thank you so much. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for being on the call. Have a wonderful evening or day, depending on where you are. Thank you so much. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.